Well, kind of an odd situation, but I bought a second ohm meter because I needed to put those roach clips, better, I mean, this is all I know what they're called, on, because I can't hold everything and try to crank at the same time, and I don't have a second person here, so you're just kind of limited on what you can do. And I noticed before, I think I told you on the last video, when I took the original, when I was diagnosing the problem, the battery would drop voltage when you were cranking, which is typical. I mean, you're pulling a lot of juice to run that starter, plus anything that may be on in the car. Well, this doesn't have anything extra. I mean, it doesn't have a heater necessarily. It doesn't have electric cooling fan. You know what I'm saying? The lights weren't on, the wipers weren't on. It was nothing like that. It was just trying to start the car. There's no electronics really to this, you know, besides the ignition part of it and lights. I mean, that's all you got. So when I was inside the car, and I haven't checked it since I've done this, but there's a terminal block in there, and because I was tracing these wires out, I know I got a mess here. I'm not going to mess with it right now, but what I was doing was I was tracing these wires out because I could not, yes, I know I need to fix these, and I will rerun all these. Right now this was I got to find out what's going on. What I was surprised about, and I actually researched it, and it is correct, the positive side of the coil actually comes from the points. Points condenser hookup in the distributor. Then it goes to the positive side, and the negative side is what actually supplies the ignition source to fire everything up. I thought it was backwards, and I thought, man, there's no way, but I sure didn't want to wire it the other way because I figured I was going to have trouble. Well, anyway, so I'm trying to figure out why I have such low voltage in that block in there, and then I tried it on the fuse block, which only has 2 or 3 fuses in it. Like I said, there's not much here. And I put it on there, and again, I've got a huge voltage drop when I crank. I'm talking 2-3 volts is all I'm getting, like it's got a bad ground, or it's not getting full power. And as soon as you let off and you turn the key on, then you've got 11.9 or something like that. So obviously there's still a voltage drop between the battery, and it goes to the solenoid, and from the solenoid it goes to wherever that terminal is to the block, and blah, okay, blah, 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 blah. We kind of got that as a circuit. So I thought, let me try to see what the coil's getting on both sides while I'm cranking. And I may have done that on a video, I don't know. But either way, I could not hold it and do the video at the same time. So I was actually trying to show you how to actually check coils, or show you how to check the primary and the secondary part of these coils. And I may do a video on that yet, along with adjusting the points, because I do have an old school distributor still over there that I can, you know, actually show you. Anyway, it doesn't make any difference. Here's what we got. I'm checking every time I crank. I have a huge voltage drop, but because the battery's new, and I have this right now, I'm charging it because it's been, well, if you notice the date on that is July. I think I put this thing in 3 or 4 months ago, and it's been sitting there. I tried cranking it, tried starting, it wouldn't start, so I haven't charged it since I got it. This is kind of the first time. Anyway, I didn't see the big drop on the battery, obviously, with the new one in it, but I'm still showing a huge voltage drop everywhere else. So I'm looking over at this old solenoid, and you know, it's mounted over there on a piece of steel, and so I know it was grounded, but it's like, well, maybe I better check that. And I noticed that not only is it old, I mean, obviously it's 30 years old at least. I'm pretty sure I've never replaced it. It doesn't look like it's been replaced. I thought, let me try to see what the voltage drop is from one side of the solenoid to the other while I'm cranking it. And so I right there where you see where that's hooked up on that little roach clip there, that's the opposite side. That's actually, you know, you've got your power there, runs around to that side of the solenoid. There's also another wire on the other side that feeds your fuse box, so it's got constant power to it. Then it jumps here, that's your ignition, that little yellow looking thing right there, kind of a tan, that actually signals it to crank. So that's all that's doing, is just sending it a signal. And then that one goes down to the starter, the one with the roach clip on it. So I noticed that they're both hot. The ground, which is of course right here, was really warm while I was cranking it, and that wire was pretty warm. but I went ahead and I decided to check. Now I wished I would have checked, actually did a video of me checking it prior, but when I hit that key, 2.5, 3 volts. That's all it was actually going down to the starter. And the motor was cranking, you heard it before, but it wasn't, to me it wasn't giving, for whatever reason, which should not have anything to do with it, it was not doing what it was supposed to do. I'm not sure if something internally, I mean, because you figure your ignition system is coming off the positive side. But I went ahead and took everything apart, put a new solenoid in, took a piece of sandpaper and cleaned up every connection, and then put everything back together. And now it's going to probably start. Well, if it's doing what it's supposed to, it start. But I want to see what the voltage is while it's cranking. Well, it's hard starting. The carburetor's not the best. But you saw there, it was actually getting 11 volts, 10 3/4 to 11.5 volts while it was cranking. I was only getting 2 or 3 of them. So the reason it didn't start is because A, it's cold, and B, I'm not in there on the foot feed. The choke is still on, as you can kind of see. Well, it's cold enough. I mean, I can touch it anywhere. It's not even this is a heater cord Dad put in. I mean, it's not even lukewarm yet. So the motor's cold, but it did start right up. So I'm going to take it down the road, and then we'll kind of do a walk around on it. It may not be today, but I'll kind of get into it, show you kind of the ins and outs of these and whatever. But anyway, it looks like for now it's starting. I'll keep you posted.